Apparently my phone decided it wanted to stop recording. I'm just going to continue from here. You probably didn't miss much, and hopefully I can combine the two videos. So next, we're going to go ahead and flood. So with flooding, as I said, you want to flood near the outline. You're going to keep the tip of the bag close to the cookie. And you're going to squeeze hard so that plenty of icing comes out. And with flooding, you don't want to leave a lot of blank spots. So if I were to go like this, it's going to be hard for that icing to fill itself in. So just try not to leave blank spots. And just follow your outline. You can do whatever pattern you want in the middle. And then just make sure there's no dried icing on your toothpick that's going to mess it up. Again, you're going to move your toothpick towards the outline. And you can kind of stab your cookie with your toothpick. Shake it, and then when you're trying to change any like spots or get rid of any spots like this, you can just shake in a back and forth or circular motion and gradually pick your toothpick up, so you're really just like scratching the surface, and eventually it'll disappear. So I'm going to put I'm gonna put some eyeballs on here. So the thing with this cookie, so as you can see in the picture, it's green on green. So you need to let this layer dry or else the green lines are not gonna show up. So we're gonna let that dry and kind of like crust over, but I am gonna put my little smiley face. Yay, he's so happy. All right, so now we will flood this tree over here. And I'm gonna smooth my icing so I fill in those crevices, as I mentioned. So you can, this cookie's kind of hard to shake with a toothpick, but you can just shake it back and forth, and that will settle your icing. And I'm gonna let that crust over as well before I add the apples, because if I add it now, it's gonna be like a wet on wet look. So A, the apples won't really stick up as much because they'll fall into the icing below. And then B, you're adding a ton more icing, so your icing's going to start to flow over the edge. And this is pretty close to the edge anyway, so I don't really want to push the limits. So next I'm going to show you how I do this, it's not really like a marble look, I don't know. This mesh together kind of tie-dye-y look for the leaf that is changing colors. I'm going to fill in my spots. As long as you work relatively quickly, you don't really need to settle the green icing before you fill in the red. And then, so first I'm going to settle my icing. So I'm going to smooth out the green first. Then wipe off my toothpick, smooth out the red, push it towards the sides. And I'm going to shake it so it's settled. And then, well, I don't even need to wipe the toothpick off here. You're going to take it and you're just going to swirl the two colors together. And it just makes it so that line is not super harsh and it feels a little more blended. And then take it and smooth it again. So whether you stab it or shake it or whatever you want to do, because you don't want to have a bunch of those little lines popping up. I think that's cute. And then if you feel like you want to add a little bit more, like I feel like this guy could have a little more green, I'm just going to add some more over there. on. So this is a wet on wet technique that is done to make it so that the whole cookie is going to be one flat surface, as opposed to waiting for it to crust over. Oh, I need to give her some eyeballs. Because this brown icing is thicker, that's why I can do the smile then and it still like pops up a little bit. If the brown icing was as thin and a regular flood icing, then you'd probably want to wait until the cookie crusts over and then you can add a smile. And it takes, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes for it to crust over. It really depends on how thick the icing is and like whether it's humid or dry air or what. So now I'm going to fill in my apple. So I'm just following along where my outline is. Oh. And you don't have to follow the picture exactly. I'm just doing that to show you. As you have less icing in your bag, you want to squish the icing towards the bottom, kind of like a tube of toothpaste. Alright, so I have those there. Now I'm going to fill in these little spots. And then I'm going to do my heart. Smooth out your sections of icing, so I'll smooth out my green. And then the red. And then now typically when I'm making cookies it's for customers, so I have a scribe, which is this thing that I use. If you take my classes, we use these. But most people don't have those. So I'm using a toothpick, but sometimes, I don't know, toothpicks aren't as stable. So you can totally just shake your cookie. And then we're going to do the same little like wet on wet, mesh together, blended look. And with this, you want to do this relatively soon after, like flood your icing, have it settle, like help it to settle, and then do this like little jiggly motion, because if you don't, it's going to start to dry, and then it'll crust over, and then if you try to do this, it'll be all lumpy and not ideal. So that's our apple. Then I'm going to cut this, actually, yeah, I'll cut it a little bigger. So now I'm going to do my tree. So for the trunk, I just go up and down like this. I'm like, oh, there's my fun little trunk. And then you can literally do anything you want for the branches. And the cool thing is you're going to cover them with leaves. So you're not really going to see a ton, and this icing is pretty thick, but it doesn't matter that there's little like pop-ups and like little things. That's intentional because you want it to look more branch-like. There. Kind of cool. And then right after you do this, you're gonna get your sprinkles and sprinkle them all over. And because your icing is still wet, they will stick on there. And then if you wanted, you could put like little leaves down here that fell. And then any that are like sticking up wildly, just push down with your toothpick. There. So that's our tree. And then if you feel like, oh, there's like a blank spot here, I want more, just add a little extra. You know, the world is your tree oyster. Fabulous. Okay, so now this is crusted over a little bit. So actually I'm running out of green icing, which you will not because I measure it, but this was my leftover icing. I'm gonna try to do this easily. If you have some breaks, it doesn't really matter. Just go with the flow. And then with these, because this bottom part is not completely dry, you're not going to be able to like fix the lines, so just kind of be careful. If you want to let them dry completely, like do this part last, that's also totally fine. There. I think he's cute. Okay, I'm going to fill in, while I'm over here, fill in these little leaves. Once I have my green. And now we can do some apples. So just do circles wherever you want. You just want to keep the tip of your piping bag close to the cookie, squeeze, and keep it in one position. There, those are kind of cute. Cool. And then if you wanted to add little stems, just put a little like brown dot. I'll just do them on like half of them. Maybe some of their stems aren't showing, you know? There. And then our last step is we're gonna add, whenever you want to wipe off the tip of your piping bag, it's because the icing crusts over. And we're gonna go back and forth, add a little trunk there, and then just squeeze a little bit of brown icing for your stem on your apples. Ta-da! I hope you guys enjoyed.